Welcome to Memorial Cooking Innovations. I'm Tim Scallon, registered dietitian.
And I'm Manuel Marini, executive chef.
Chef Manny, we have been doing Memorial Cooking Innovations for over 4 years.
You're kidding.
Can you
over
believe
4
that?
years? Oh my goodness.
And you know, remember when we first started, the idea was you put a chef and a dietitian together and you teach people how to create tasty meals that meet their wellness guidelines. Remember that?
Yeah.
But
wait, I remember when we first started, I would say, Tim, what about this recipe?
Yeah.
And you're like,
I don't know, it's pretty
it
high
ain't gonna happen.
sodium.
Yeah, or high fat, or.
Yeah.
But
We
then
gotta
we
figure
that's
out
where
some
we
way.
actually started. Say, okay, let's keep the traditional, and give it the healthier version of it.
Well, Chef Manny, here's what is so neat to me is by watching you and seeing how you do things, I feel like I'm getting a culinary degree, man.
Well, that's good that you're learning.
Yeah.
You're learning. It's just like me, working with you. That's why, being in the healthcare, a lot of dietitians don't do this, don't do that, don't use salt, don't use so much fat.
Yeah.
But we learn to work together and just make it good.
And that's why you all are watching Memorial Cooking Innovations.
Wait, they're not watching it because of me?
Well, yeah, they are, Chef Manny, but we're also learning.
I was just kidding.
Okay, so Chef Manny, I know you are. So Chef Manny, tell us what you're going to cook for us today.
Well,
tell us something that brings interest to our life.
You brought it to me, this one.
No.
Yeah, you did. You
For
say,
real?
hey, Manny, how about tagine cooking? And I'm like, tagine? Yeah, right?
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
So this is yours. But, of course, we make the recipe, we tweak it a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about tagine cooking.
Okay.
Because
okay.
ours is going to be a tagine beef.
Yes.
So it's going to be great. It's got mango in it, chipotle.
Our friend Mango comes back.
Yeah, so, and beets, fresh beets.
Okay, that's something
good.
different, yes.
Yeah, so again, or squash and fresh fruit and stuff like that, so that'll be good. And then, when we talk about tagine cooking, want to bring that one?
Yeah, let's get this so people can see it. Tagine actually refers to a clay pot. This comes from North Africa. It's from the Berber tradition,
right?
Ancient people from North Africa.
And Mexico, this is a Mexican one, which is called olla de barro, which is made out of clay.
Yep.
Same thing, and then you just cook in it in an open fire.
And in the Mexican tradition, they would cook beans or stews.
Mostly everything.
Okay.
It's just a way of cooking for them.
Well, tagine refers to a clay pot very similar to this, only instead of a flat top like this, it's a cone. Yeah, it's a cone-shaped top. And the reason that it's shaped like that is as your stew makes, the liquid, the condensate that forms on the dome, rolls back down into the stew to keep the flavor in the stew.
Yeah.
So.
But we are not going to be able to cook with this because of our stove. But if you had a nice open, we want it so
flame,
good.
yeah.
We wanted to enjoy this, but we just want to share that.
Yeah.
We're just going to use a regular pot,
like
here.
a Dutch oven.
Exactly.
Basically.
So nice and hot.
But that's why we say a tagine style beef with fruit and vegetable. It's a stewed beef with fruit and vegetable, and we're going to cook it in a Dutch oven.
We're going to cook it on a Dutch oven. But if you do have one of those, that would be awesome to cook it in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, so let's get started on this
All right.
tagine beef.
First, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil.
Okay.
And the good thing, we always use a little bit of olive oil.
Yep.
I got the beef in the refrigerator. Nice, lean beef, okay?
So this is basically a beef stew, only in this tagine stew, there are some interesting flavors in this. Like, for example, there's some unusual seasonings that we as Americans are not used to seeing together. For example, in this dish, we're going to season with cumin, cinnamon, and ginger. I can't think of any American stew that puts cinnamon, cumin, and ginger. You got one more piece right there.
Oh, I do? There it is.
Yeah. There we go.
Perfect.
And in fact, it's that combination of seasoning that makes this characteristically Moroccan.
Moroccan, exactly. Good job, Tim.
So tell me about this beef. This is
one right here. I'd use the top round. We trimmed it real good.
Yep.
Usually you catch the center of it, you get a nice lean piece of beef.
And that's what I wanted to point out is this is a very lean cut of beef.
Lean cut of beef. So,
whereas if we would have used something like a stew meat, a lot more fat.
Yeah, this is a good way of buying a big chunk of beef and
Yep.
cutting it yourself
Yep.
because you're trimming. If you buy stew meat, by the time you go through it,
Yeah.
half of it is already gone.
Yeah.
So an eye round would be good.
Yeah.
You know, nice look at as your butcher, nice lean piece of beef that we can either do it yourself or the butcher will do it for you.
And the round is good because it's
The
so
eye round
lean.
is very, very good.
You know, we chose that. We in our recipe we just say lean beef, but this top round or eye round works very well for this.
Very good. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to brown the beef a little bit. Then, of course, we're going to add our sweater onions, right, Tim?
Yeah, yeah.
All right? And then we're going to, this is one of those recipes that we're going to sweat our onions with it. Because I had my pot hot, and that's one thing that we want to talk about. Make sure it's hot, add a little bit of olive oil, and throw your beef in there.
Yeah.
So it'll brown right away.
So you're starting with hot olive oil.
Hot olive oil, and then adding your
And you
beef
know,
to it.
this recipe employs what we would say both is a dry and a moist heat cooking method. The dry heat method is sautéing,
Sauteing.
and but then later you're going to add broth to this
So we're going to
to
use the
stew
wet.
with, which is a moist heat cooking.
Moist, yes. Okay, we got that going. I'm going to add a little bit of ginger.
Yeah. So you've got fresh ginger that you've
Fresh
cut up.
ginger. And you know, ginger has, it's really good for you.
It's a very healthy.
It is very good.
Yeah.
So
Well, and also in this dish, we see some unusual vegetables for the East Texas area. Now, all of us in East Texas know about pickled beets, but what do you do with fresh beets? You know, now maybe perhaps in some of our other viewing areas outside of Texas, people may be more used to eating fresh beets, but we wanted to use a fresh beet in this stew because it adds interest and
dark color means
Yes.
lots of nutrition.
lots of antioxidants. Yeah.
Very good. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add our beets, okay?
Oh, okay. Now.
And I want to share a couple of things. I got
Okay.
these already cut. I want to throw these in, okay, Tim?
Yep. Yep.
But let's talk about beets because you asked me that earlier. Earlier during the week while we were working with this recipe. One of the things is beet is such a pretty vegetable. So rich, dark, but yet it bleeds. You know, the color of it. And, you know, you asked me, how can I clean beets without getting so dirty
Because
or
when
stained?
you cut them, they bleed.
They bleed, they do.
Yeah.
They do. So, I got it for you.
Okay.
One is wear some gloves.
Okay, so that's one way.
One way,
Yeah.
you know, wear some gloves
And
and
an
cut
apron.
it, and an apron, of course,
Yeah.
because let me tell you, it does. It bleeds. It's such wonderful, beautiful color, but you don't
Yeah.
want it all over you.
Yeah.
Another one would be to put a little olive oil in your hands,
Oh.
right, and just peel it like we did the fruit, the vegetables.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
cut the ends off,
Yeah.
set it down firm, and then just
then
peel
peel
it like that.
Okay.
Or 3, have somebody like you to peel it for me.
So that it doesn't stain your hands.
Exactly.
That's right. Okay. Well, that works. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it right here, and some nice beets.
Just
But-
let the dietitian do it.
Yeah, exactly. See that? See, it works, didn't it? So, and another thing with these beets, because you know, you buy them. I bought them in the grocery store. Sometimes they have 4 or 5 in a bundle.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to cook them all, another good thing to do: a little kosher salt, a little bit on the outside. Wash them really good. Put a little kosher salt and throw them in the oven.
Oh.
And then
Roasted.
Roast them in, and then pull them out.
Okay.
And
Now,
then-
now you'd cut the top and bottom off. Would you peel it just like you
Yeah,
did
no,
these?
no, you don't even peel it. You just cut the top and bottom.
And
put
then
a
just
little
wash
kosher
it
salt.
good.
Wash it good, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Take the top, bottom, put a little salt, kosher salt, throw it in the oven, let it roast, pull it out, peel it, and just eat it. It is so wonderful.
Okay, we're going to have to try that. Now, see, there's
All right.
another way to eat fresh beets.
Beets. And then
Okay.
people don't really know, you know. We always either go for the can or, you know.
Yeah,
so-
or the pickled beet. Yeah,
Exactly. So,
yeah.
all right, so we got the beets. Of course, the beets is going to give you a wonderful color. We talked about that.
Yeah.
All right, so
Now-
we're going to throw the beets in there.
Now, beets are also high in potassium and magnesium, 2 minerals that help lower your blood pressure.
And that's good to know. That
Mm-hmm. You
is
know, we
wonderful.
know that sodium raises blood pressure, but there are minerals that lower it, potassium and magnesium, straight out of those beets.
Now, when we're talking beets, I mean, that it really is. I've seen a lot of infomercials. I've seen a lot of commercials where they puree them for the juice, the natural
Juicing them,
juice.
Yeah, and
I
there's the
mean,
reason. That's why.
That is, and it's got a
Yeah.
sweet flavor to it,
Yep,
too. So
yep.
that's awesome. Now we're going to add our garlic, okay, Tim?
Okay.
Now, garlic is really good for you. And this is really a healthy dish. Wonderful, healthy.
This is an all-in-one dish. You've got meat and vegetable that is literally packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
And best of all, good flavor.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I got a little cumin.
Okay, here comes the cumin.
Here comes the cumin. I'm just going to put a little pinch here. We can always add a little bit more later.
Yeah.
But you want to taste it as it's cooking, okay?
You know, like I was telling you earlier, I feel like I'm getting a culinary degree. I was making something at home this past weekend. I didn't have cumin. I was telling you about this.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I have
that's
to,
true.
I have
That
to tell
is-
our viewers, too. Didn't have cumin, but I had
Coriander.
coriander seed. Yeah, I had coriander, and I think Chef Manny, here, let me smell this.
Well-
I'm pretty sure he told me this was cumin. So I got a mortar and pestle. You know, mortar and pestle like a pharmacist would use. It's a bowl with a thing. And I basically ground the seeds. You could use a coffee grinder if you didn't have a mortar and
Right.
pestle. And boy, the aroma of those fresh seeds ground, it was just really good.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
it came out awesome.
So I had to come tell Chef Manny after that weekend that I
So-
ground my cumin.
So now you found out if you don't have cumin, there
You can
go.
use coriander seed.
Exactly.
That's right.
Now, guess
This
what?
smells good.
It smells wonderful. Now that we have that, we're going to add a little. I'm only going to add half of the mangoes, okay?
Okay.
I just want a little flavor to it, okay?
And you know,
Just a little bit.
when we were, you mentioned this earlier, but a lot of times we'll take a recipe, we'll see, you know, in this case I said to Chef Manny, this really looks interesting. You know, here's a stew from North Africa of using fruit and vegetables with the beef. And so Chef Manny and I started working this recipe, and of course you brought in, or was it me? I don't remember, the mango. But then you
You
wanted
did the
to,
mango.
But then you
I
wanted
wanted to give it a little bite to
little
it.
kick,
you know?
yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, here's another one, chipotle.
yeah.
You know, poblano peppers would be good.
Yeah,
You know, if
they
we dice
would.
them up, you
That's
know,
right.
give it a little spice.
Yeah.
But we haven't used chipotle in a while.
Yeah.
And just a little chipotle, we'll add a little later if that's the taste that we want, okay?
Yeah. And I want to show this to everyone just
Sure.
so they can see what it is. Basically, you can get this in the Mexican food section at any grocery store. Now, the thing that Chef Manny has taught me about this is that it's very spicy. It's hot. And so you use a
It's got
little bit.
spicy, smoky flavor.
Yes, and that's what's so good about it. And so use a little bit, and you can always, like Chef Manny says, you can always add more.
You can always add more. So.
Yeah.
And then this goes a long ways. You can add a little bit low-fat mayonnaise, get
Yeah.
a nice little flavor.
Yeah.
You can add it to some pastas.
In fact,
it
we
goes a long ways.
we made a low-sodium barbecue sauce out of this and some light mayonnaise. I think was it mayonnaise?
Yeah.
No,
No,
it was
no.
ranch dressing.
Ranch dressing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so we got it simmering.
Okay.
Now we're going to add a little bit of the vegetable broth, Tim.
All right.
Which
Low sodium.
low
vegetable
sodium,
broth.
of course. Now, if you have a low sodium beef broth,
You could use that, or even a chicken broth. Really.
yeah, I just wanted to use the vegetable broth.
Yeah.
All because it's got more vegetables.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and you know, when you're using a vegetable broth, you know, if you read the ingredients on there, you're going to see things like carrot, celery, onion, and basically these vegetables with water cooked down, reduced down to make the broth. They didn't add any salt if it says low sodium. And so not only are you getting the flavor from that, but also the nutrients from all those vegetables.
Exactly. So, and that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're just going to let it simmer for a little bit, okay, Tim?
Okay.
So, oh my God, look at this, Tim.
Oh, that looks wonderful, and it smells so good. All right.
Look, what do you smell?
I smell those beets.
And then a little cinnamon.
A little cinnamon,
Yeah,
yes,
is
I
that
sure
good?
do.
And the cumin?
And the cumin, yes.
That's a
I
good
do.
combination. You know, a lot of
I don't know.
South American, I'm going to say South American,
Yeah.
they use cumin and cinnamon a lot in
They
their
do.
dishes.
Okay.
So,
Because see, in North America, we don't. It's just not something we put together.
yeah, and a lot of Mexican dishes is cinnamon, cumin, chocolate. I mean, these are
see?
natural
Huh.
stuff that they use in their traditional cuisine. So.
And the ginger, you know, you see that in Oriental cooking, but you know,
that
who
is-
would have thought
that
to
is
put
a
that with
beautiful
cumin?
smell. Oh my God. Okay, so
All right.
simmering really good. Now, one of the reasons I only added half of the mango because we're gonna save that. I got some squash,
Yeah. Yeah. Butternut squash.
butternut squash, beautiful color.
Okay. Yeah.
I got some oranges.
Okay.
I want to add that to it.
So this is a beef with fruit and vegetable.
Oh my! Oh, that looks good.
It's gorgeous.
It sounds different, but wait till you taste it, Tim.
Yeah.
Way too
Okay, now
tasty.
why'd you save some of this mango?
The mango cooks off real quick.
Oh, so you're going to save it for last.
I'm gonna garnish it a little bit. Okay, we did add half because we want the
You
flavor.
want the flavor, okay.
But I want to save a little bit for that little garnish, that nice little yellow. Okay.
Okay.
We also have.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk to you. Do you know what this is, Tim?
Well, I do because of our recipe, but I bet a lot of our viewers don't know what this is.
And you know, this is almost like something traditional in this part of town in East Texas.
It's like collard greens. It looks like collard greens, but it's not.
No. So
tell us what it is.
char.
Swiss chard.
Swiss
okay.
chard. So,
okay.
and this is on a lot of cuisines. You might see Swiss chard, and you're thinking, okay, what is Swiss
Yeah,
chard?
it's not something we see in East Texas.
No, but it's available.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and then up north, I'm sure there is available. So
Yeah.
Swiss chard. If you don't have Swiss chard, you know, let's add some greens. Let's add some cabbage.
You know, we've learned that greens, collard greens, chard, cabbage, all of these go very well in stews. And not only are they tasty, but any dark green, of course, adds a lot of vitamins A and C. This green has calcium, potassium, magnesium. Here come those minerals
That's
that
awesome.
lower blood pressure.
And that's what we need to eat more of.
Yep.
So anyway, wash them really good, of course.
Okay.
All right. So and this is one of those vegetables that we can actually use the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay. So what I am going to do.
I wanted to see how you're going to cut these.
I'm just going to lay one leaf on top of the other, and we're just going to cut it like this, Tim.
Okay.
Now we're going to cut them in half as well.
Okay.
But this is what I like. I mean, if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I like the stem
You
of
like
it
those
because I like the
stems.
crunchiness.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it holds a lot of the nutrition in there too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to cut it right
Once
in
down
half.
the middle. Okay.
Okay.
Now, see, I would have done that same thing. So,
Beautiful.
see, I'm learning.
Beautiful. And we're just going to add it to our
And
stew
you add
here.
this last because it's going to cook fast.
Yeah, it's going to cook fast.
You don't want it
I
to.
don't want it wilty. I want it
Yeah.
to feel some of that crunchiness to
Yeah.
it, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to add that. We still have a little more cooking time, okay, Tim?
You know, when you're adding the stems on this, it makes me think. You know, we cook here in East Texas cabbage. You know, it's a regional dish here. Love cabbage, and like when you're steaming cabbage, and a lot of times you cut the cabbage off and you get down to that core, and a lot of people cut that out and throw it away. But I've
that is so
learned,
good.
cut the end off. That's dirty. But when you get to that core, if you'll quarter him, and cut him up a little bit, go
slice 'em
right
up
in
and
there.
throw it in there.
Really flavorful.
Well, and that holds a lot of the root. So the root has most of the nutrition in there, too.
Yep.
All right, now we got a little bit of parsley.
Parsley, okay. yeah.
Italian parsley. And the reason
Italian
for what?
parsley. Well, now see, I've learned this from you. I always used, you know, this parsley. See how the leaves are not as crinkly. You know, there's parsley that it has a more crinkly leaf to it, and then this has a more open leaf. And I'm like you. After I started using this, I got to where I like it better.
You use it on everything.
I do.
Scrambled eggs and parsley.
Well, almost. It's almost that bad.
Which is good for you, though.
Well, it is good. Actually, another dark green. You know, here in America, we put parsley on the plate and we think that it's just a garnish, but actually, it's a wonderful herb to cook with. In fact, I have parsley growing in my herb garden.
Oh, that is awesome. You got to
Yeah.
invite me to your house because last time I was at your house was Super Bowl.
That's right.
No,
Not
it was
Super Bowl, but
tailgating.
yeah, it was.
Tailgating.
We
That's right.
tailgated, yes.
That's right. So
You
we gotta
all
get-
remember that show.
Yeah, we got to get together one day, and summer coming up, and
Yeah.
we'll do something again.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right. I like that idea.
Awesome. So,
It's
okay.
Beautiful.
Beautiful color. We got some orange, we got some white, we got some red, we got some dark green, brown from the beef. Oh my God, it smells so wonderful. So we're gonna just let it simmer. Now,
Okay.
Tim, we're gonna do
The couscous.
couscous.
Okay. Okay.
And we have two kinds of couscous. The recipe
Yeah.
calls for whole wheat. If you
Yeah.
don't find whole wheat, then we got the regular couscous.
Yeah.
There's there's some that have broth, chicken flavor,
Different
and there's all
flavorings.
this other stuff. But keep in mind the sodium in it.
Yeah, that's
Right,
right.
because
That's right.
ours is going to have the vegetable broth. You can use low sodium. Just, the other ones look good, and oh wow, I don't have to add garlic. I don't have to add this, but you got a lot of sodium in it. So
So you got the plain.
I got the plain
That way
original.
you're in control of the
I
seasoning.
got it all.
Yeah.
I got it all.
Yeah.
So now the recipe is pretty simple. We're gonna do some onions. Sweat a little bit of onions with a little olive oil. So I got a pan here.
So it starts the same way. You see us start the same thing with
Same
sweating
thing.
onions.
Sweating onions. We want the flavor. And I got my onions right over here.
And you know, that's just something I was talking to Chef Mike about just today, in fact. And you see Chef Manny start many of our recipes this same way, where you've got, you start with olive oil, you add onions, and what you're doing is releasing the flavor of those onions. And you know, Chef Mike, when I was talking to him about this, I'd never thought of it until he said it. He was saying, well, you know how onions have a real strong, pungent flavor when they're raw, but when they're cooked, they're milder.
It's sweeter.
Yeah, it is. And that's what he was saying, is when you sweat the onions, you're releasing some of that raw flavor, and you have a smoother...
You know, I used to be fascinated by just a nice sandwich with raw onions, but lately, since I've been hanging around with you for over 4 years, we've been doing a lot of this stuff. But last night, we're making tacos and a little this and that and the other at the house, and I just grabbed some raw onions. But I felt that it's strong, it's spicy. I mean, it goes good. Don't get me wrong, and it's got a lot of nutrition.
Well, and there's a place for that flavor.
Exactly.
You know, a taco with fresh onion and cilantro, for example. Well, of course, you don't like cilantro. But,
I don't.
But you know, that flavor can go well together. They're both strong flavors.
Let me tell you, it was perfect.
Yep.
It was perfect. Okay, so we sweeten the onions.
Yep.
We feel that. We're going to add a little bit of garlic, Tim.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to add a little bit of garlic. This is one of those that I'm going to add the garlic to.
Okay, because
I want the flavor. I want the flavor, but I'm not going to let it sit there too long because I don't want that roasted flavor.
Sure smells good. I can smell that garlic as soon as you put it in there.
If you happen to buy some raw almonds,
you
know, grab a little pan, roast them up a little bit.
Okay, right? Just in a dry skillet.
Dry skillet.
Yeah.
Let it warm heat. Just keep tossing it because once they get hot, they will cook fast.
Yep.
And that's what they come out with.
So you really have to stir them.
You have to stir them.
Keep an eye on them.
And these are good for you too.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna add some. Boom. There you go.
A handful of nuts a day.
It's good for you.
Lowers our heart disease risk.
And this is, if you got sunflower, you're crazy about sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds.
Same.
Perfect. Raisins?
Yep.
Always good. Look, it smells really good.
Smell the raisins.
The raisins, I mean, that's funny how
who would have thought,
almonds and raisins. That's an excellent combination.
Who would have thought of sautéing onions and raisins together?
And raisins, huh?
You know?
Hey, only Tim.
Well...
Only Tim.
Well, but this is a Moroccan, this is a typical
couscous that's a tradition.
Recipe.
So I was just kidding.
We can't say that I made this up.
No. This is traditional.
It's a traditional, and you know, couscous is like, it's like gumbo. You know, everybody's couscous is going to be their own recipe. But a traditional recipe is with chicken broth. Of course, here we're going to use the vegetable broth.
And chicken broth is not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Now,
vegetable broth has a little more flavor.
Yeah,
because of all the vegetables.
That's right. Now, let me just say a word about when you're cooking with couscous. Traditionally, the couscous would have been a different grain. It would have been like in the old days, it would have been millet. You know, here in this country, we grow millet usually for bird seed or for animal feed. But in other parts of the world, millet is still a grain that's used. Somewhere in the 20th century, millet got replaced with wheat. And as people in France and Spain and Portugal, Greece, Italy, couscous is a very popular dish in these countries.
Oh, yes.
You know, we don't really know it here in this country. Well, when they changed it to wheat, in this country, mostly what you see is not a raw semolina wheat, but it's what would be called a parboiled. It's kind of like instant rice. And so on this, what you want to do is bring your liquid to a boil.
And we're going to add that and let it simmer.
Yeah, and your recipe is going to tell you, once you add the couscous to the boiling liquid, remove it from heat and let it stand for 5 minutes. And that's very important. Otherwise, these are basically tiny balls of pasta. And it's just like if we overcook our pasta.
Exactly. So it's pre-ready. We're just going to absorb the liquid to it, and that's what's important. So we're going to let this come up to a boil, and then we'll add that, pull it to the side, and let it rest.
Yep.
Meanwhile, this is resting. This is almost ready.
I can't wait.
I think we're boiling.
Okay.
All right, so let's add the couscous, okay, Tim?
You
Go
want
ahead.
me to- okay.
Sure.
So we're going to add the couscous.
We're going to add the couscous.
Give it a
Beautiful. Give it a stir. Mix it well because all it is just going to absorb all the liquid. You got the lid? Oh, beautiful. Okay, now we're going to turn this baby off
Okay.
and just let it
Remove him
simmer.
from heat.
Well, remove him. There you go,
Okay.
because that stays hot for a little while, so
Yep.
we want to avoid that. Perfect. We're going to
Okay.
do that. Now let's take a peek. Ready?
Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Oh,
looks
that
good.
That really does look good. I'll tell you what. I got some spoons here, Tim. Remember what I said you could always add a little more?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what this is. Oh, look at this.
Now this is something I've learned from Chef Manny. If you don't taste things, you don't know where you're at. You've got to taste it. Of course, he can just put this right in his mouth, even though it's boiling. And when I do that, it peels
I
three
know.
layers
Last
off
time,
my tongue.
what
Yeah.
I made you taste something, and
Yeah.
then for a week
it was
you're
a week
like,
later. Yeah. So
love
if you're
that.
like me, you need to blow on it a while.
blowing it, let it. But that is wonderful.
It's delicate.
Oh, it's
Delicious.
We got a
See,
little rag
here
here.
is a
This
food.
is super hot.
Here's a
But I
food
want to
that
make
has.
sure that they got the cameras.
This food has no. Did you put? I think you put a pinch of salt, but
A
this is
pinch.
this is a low sodium dish, and you never miss.
But you
it.
don't need much, though. See, that's the thing. I
There-
saved it for the end.
There's so much flavor in this. You
Everything
don't need
is
the
there.
salt.
Everything is there. The vegetable broth, you can feel, you can taste the vegetables. You feel something there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the cumin, the ginger.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So what we've learned today is we've learned that exploring food can help us to improve our cooking skills. It can help us learn to make smarter food choices, which leads to improved health and brings interest into our life. Who would have thought of putting couscous on the table for supper tonight? We learned about tagine, a traditional Moroccan dish, a stew using meat and fruit and vegetables. So it's something kind of different. We're not used to doing this in the U.S. We've introduced some unusual vegetables. We're learning how to use fresh beets, a very nutrient-dense food, and Swiss chard. And now when your friends ask you, what is couscous, you can tell them that I learned about this on Memorial Cooking Innovations. And as an added benefit, you have a new word that you can spell when you're playing Scrabble. You know how often you play Scrabble. Or for your iPhone app, if you're a Words for Friends person, you can play it there. We'd like to thank our friends at Brookshire Brothers, a celebration of food and community. We'd like to thank the H.C. Polk Education Center and Sodexo Food Service. And thanks to the City of Lufkin for producing and distributing Memorial Cooking Innovations. And of course, we want to thank you, our viewers. Keep sending us your comments because as you and we explore different foods, we are literally changing the world one bite at a time.